feather strip and the cloth is smooth. You don't see that little edge you sometimes see.
Title of the show was American fold versus European. And does everybody know the difference between the two?
Nope.
So if you don't, you probably know the American way, which is the double fold, like the hospital fold on the side.
American.
Okay, so I call that the American fold because it's really the way that most Americans do it. But from Predator, a lot of our tables, we use the European fold. And if you travel to Asia, it's European. So if you do on Rassens, a lot of times you're seeing this fold now, and you're like, how are they doing that? Why are they doing that? You know? And so some of the misconception I've seen in the industry was that one's better than the other, and one's maybe because you don't know how to do the other, you know? So I did a test 6 months, my controlled test, and if you guys scan this, it shows all the information about the two different things, but it was 6 months, and in that 6 months, I tested both folds, and we had control with the control of the cloth, the control of the speed, and the control of the angle from 47 degrees to 52 degrees entering into the pocket, and we controlled it with new cloth, new balls, and we controlled the test through 6 months till the cloth was worn in. And there was no measurable difference between the folds. So when done right, I don't believe that there's any one better. It's just if you learn both ways. So I'm going to show some tips and tricks today that hopefully if you guys have done any European style, if you've never seen it, it'll help you. Okay? So we're going to have Rob here in a second. He's going to have a phone, maybe to zoom in. It's kind of hard to see if you're sitting down, so I'm going to hope that I can show you. But feel free if you want to see. On a couple cuts, I want you guys to come up here because there's a couple cuts that that really make the job a lot easier. So first thing, I let the feather strip long so you guys can see. This seems basic, right? How to trim a feather strip, right? So let me get my trim tool here. Anybody use hose cutters? Like you would cut hoses with? No? Okay. So one of the best things that I found to cut feather strips, okay? So I start off at the corner because it's the actual first cut. I cut upside down because there's a down angle here. So now, see the angle? And it's down. So I can slide it to the end and it's absolutely perfect. So then the straight line is the same way. Like I said, a lot of this might be basic. I don't know the different levels you guys are at, but hopefully you can answer some questions. So as you can see, now the feather strip fits in perfect. Okay. So the first one I'm going to show you is the European because that's the one I think that most people might not have experience with. Might be why you're here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the center of the rail. Just because if I put the feather strip right back in there, it'll be good.
What felt are you using?
This right here is Simonis 860. Which I chose to use this cloth because a lot of you guys might, when you do rails too, you get the shadows that go down. Yeah. How's that happening? So generally it's improper tension. It's not slack on the cloth. So we're going to show you how to avoid that as well. And like I told you, this is high performance. So if we're doing tables for the World Championship and we're doing 10 of them, I have to do all 6 of the rails. Rob will do another all 6 because he can't pull the same tension I do. And if he's doing a table and I'm doing a table, a couple of the rails are going to play different just because his tension's different than mine. You know? Ideally, you would get it right, but he can get it without wrinkles and it's perfect, and so can I, but there is a difference in tension. So think about that way too. If you're going to go do a professional setup, try having the rail guy do all the rails. So. Okay, so the first, lay out the cloth. Can you see this here? Now I usually lay the cloth to the glue line, but this cut right here is what you're going to want to see, and everybody who does the easiest. So I go ahead and cut. Now this, like I said, is our arc rail, very similar to a Gold Crown 3 rail, Gold Crown 2 rail. I go ahead and cut. Here's the 90. I'm just going to go ahead and make a slit right here. See where it's at? And then I'm going to go ahead and start this and show you how this works. And get your guys' opinion on this. Yeah, I'm doing it for a reason. I want to show you something. hammer because I ain't getting all the way down in there. Okay, you see what I just did? Now when I pull this over, I gave myself a glue tab or a staple tab far back. When you're doing them rastings, you're having a hard time because you ain't got this tab. You're cutting back here behind the feather strip like we traditionally did.
That's right.
Are you seeing what I'm saying, guys, out here? So on an apex, if you do a Predator apex, you have to do that in order to glue back there. Or there's nowhere to glue, you can't staple. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out. I cut right here.
Right there, gotcha.
And then right here's the edge of the rail, the 90. And when I pound in that, this goes all, your feather strip goes all the way to your facing, and then you pull your cloth out from underneath of it. When you pound it in, and now when you come over, you have a little tab to glue. So like I said, you could start here and do it, but I wanted to start here to show you guys this.
For sure.
And now I'm pulling tension. You guys see what I'm doing here? Pulling the tension this way. I'm not just putting it in. Actually pull. Now, you can cut this and do the same thing here. Same way as there. I'm not going to, but you can, because on like a apex you do it that way. A rasting you do it that way because they don't have nothing to staple to that.
That's right.
Because the sub rail comes out past the 90. So here I'm going to go ahead. And our feather strips are brutally tight. And I'm just doing this for demonstration. So now I can come down through here and tap this in. Our feather strips are tight, so I'm just tapping on top with a regular hammer, and then I'll go through and set it. I'm not going to hit the formica. Okay, I did it like this to show you. See how I didn't pull it over here at the side? Now you can pull it loose and do what you're asking me if you can do.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
exactly what I do, yeah.
Uh-huh. You can.
Exactly.
Okay, you can. It helps.
Yeah, because every time I've done that, it just,
It helps, doesn't it?
yeah, that comes out perfect. Halfway to the facing,
Yeah.
hammering me down.
Still just hitting the feather strip.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And
Now with the tip of the hammer, the place of the hammer.
Yeah, center.
Across each
And I
side.
have a pounding block that I'll use to get it to the right height.
okay.
Okay? And you don't want to use the pounding block in here thinking that you're okay with the sub rail, because a lot of times you'll be below the formica. So you'll use it when I flip it over here, we'll use it hitting here, and it only is going to keep the cloth the same height as the formica. You know, you want to use something that's got a big surface area, so you don't want to use it on the edge where you could chip the formica and things like that. Okay, for this cut right here, right behind the facing. See?
Yeah.
Okay. Simple, right?
Same cut, yeah.
Same thing you guys did.
Same thing, yeah.
And I just leave my feather strip just a little proud when I trim. This is different. Some people don't. I do because it gives me a straight line. I don't have to worry about all the strangles.
Yep.
Okay, now when I'm actually setting the depth, I go ahead and use a pounding block. As you can see, very, very strong. Now, when we got the, see how it's flat here? It's never going to be below it. If you hit it like this, and some people do, if you see right here, there's actually, see how it's not actually flat?
Yep.
If I made that flat, it will be below the formica. So some people actually do it like this. No, I would not recommend that. For you'll feel when it's high, and you'll really know when it's back down. So that's good. Okay. So flip the rail over, make sure everything's cleaned off the back of it so you don't have any debris. So when I'm doing the European fold, I start at the opening. Reason is, if I start here with the European fold, and then I pull tension, I open up this. So if I start here and I pull this way, it stays on that straight line what I'm trying to get.
What kind of staple gun do you use?
I like 3 or 4 different ones. Vesco, this is a Grex.
What's your favorite one?
Yeah. Probably, I don't know.
What's one you grab like without even thinking?
Like I said, it's all of them, but
It's all of them. Okay.
But I use them for different things. This is a fine wire, so when I'm doing our new removable rail, I use fine wire. Still 1/2 inch, 1/4 lag, but it's just fine wire. So next time I do the cloth, they all pulls out, all the staples stiff up and stuff. But this is 1/2 inch, you know. But this is, right here, 1/2 inch 4th lag, probably what a lot of you guys use. But I switched to this gun to make Glenn happy. You'll see why. So, like Glenn explained when we were talking today, you see how you see the pusher, how it don't come above? So filing it down keeps it from pounding it way down into the table, way down into the rail, so that when you go to dig it out.
But if you don't do that, it shoots the staples move along and destroys your.
So now if you hold that there and you shoot it, it's barely a crease.
Yeah.
So you
With an
keep.
electronic stapler, you cannot set the depth of it.
So you hold the trigger, put it on a sander or a grinder, grind it down flat, and then your staples dig down into it.
That's cool.
This one hasn't been done because the way I use it, I need a little bit extra depth on the corners, so I don't do it with this gun, but this one is. So this is the tricky part that I think from training guys, it's like I say, you see the way to do it and you just got to practice it. I don't think you'll do it, and if you already know how to do it, but I start right here at the apex with my hand, okay? And I actually pull around like this, and I hold right here. And there's where I put my first staple, okay? Now, there's people who pull out this way and go straight up, and they shoot one here. And then they work out the back from that way. I'm not gonna say which one is better, but I'll show you what my concept is, okay? So I'm gonna put one right here. And I wanna make sure that none of them wrinkles are outside of my staple. You see how the cloth is straightening up on me?
Outside the staple. That's my fault.
What do you mean when you say outside the staple?
See how I have no wrinkle in front of my staples.
Okay. Yeah.
If there's a wrinkle there, it will run out the nose at some point. You'll come back in a month and there'll be wrinkles underneath the rail. So I stack them up. Some people put them flat, but the key is that you don't have it. I've seen guys after they do this and they shoot 3 flat ones, then pull them.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, the more you can keep staples out, the longevity of the table. So if you're servicing tables, you got to be thinking you're going to follow yourself up. You don't want to dig all that wood out because eventually the table's going to be no good. Right. So the mechanics are what control that. And that's a good thing to sell as you start to learn yourself as servicing. Hey, I'm going to make sure these tables are your income. I'm going to make sure when I do them that I maintain the highest level. So, okay, here is now, I got the cloth going straight. You see here, it's going straight. So now I can go here. This helps with the wrinkles. And here's the European fold. So let me show you guys. Turn the cloth a little bit here. And I'm pulling. See, the cloth wants to come this way. So I'm just turning my hand and I'm going straight up. Okay? I'm going to put 1. I'm going to pull up again and put 2. You got that?
Yep.
Okay, and then I'm going to pull this way. Okay, now for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you guys where my cut line is. You guys see where the mark is? Those are my cut lines. So,
What determines that?
the cut line, there's tension right here.
Yep.
I don't want to go too far towards the nose. Some people go all the way down here and they get a bag. If you stop halfway, you'll see why. So I cut this like that. And then I back cut, that cloth comes out. Cut here, and then I'm cutting down towards where I just told you guys I was going to go. So about right there. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this straight out. Okay, now when I do this fold, watch what happens. Stacy, you might want to come around me. I'm starting to do the fold, and I'm getting to that line.
Oh, that's what they did. Yep.
Okay, now you see where that line is and how it's straight down the nose, and I don't have any wrinkle up here. If you trim all the way to here, this bag will come out past the nose and the ball will hit it.
Yeah, we don't want
So stop halfway so that fold gets a chance to roll over and be nice and crisp. And then we're going to just shoot 2.
Yep.
And then if you really wanted to test it, this angle's 102 degrees. So you could get your measuring, set it to 102 and measure this and make sure you don't have any gap right here. Because if you pull that cloth too tight, this will be rounded.
Yep.
You know, so if you want to practice, figure out what that measurement is before you cloth it, and then when you cloth it, see if it's the same or if you've got a little gap missing. Because if you got gap, you got too much tension rolling across the nose.
Makes sense.
Okay. So, and now we're going to go down the rail. So this is, I would say, controversial, but do you use straight staples?
45.
Or do you tilt them a little bit?
45, a little bit.
So there's 2 different answers.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what my opinion is. If you tilt just a little bit, you get each lag of the staple will hit 2 different fibers of cloth.
Yeah.
And it keeps the cloth from pulling loose. If you do it like this, the cloth, especially if you trim when you're done, which you should, I'll show you that. If you trim too close, a couple months you go back and you get wrinkles, you're like, I did that perfect.
Yep.
So I think the best way is to give yourself just a little bit of an angle. Okay? So like this right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay? See, it's just a little angle. It's not like up and down.
Yeah.
And if you notice, I'm pulling about an inch away from where I'm stapling.
In
I'm
front
not,
of your thumb.
Yeah, I'm not pulling right here, because if I pull right here, look what instantly happens.
Yep.
See it?
Yep.
And then you get that shadow.
And so what causes that?
Too much tension right there. See, it's suppressing the nose.
Yeah.
Here, there's no tension. So when you guys are getting those shadows, generally it's because somebody's stapling right where they're locking in the cloth.
Gotcha. And where are you stapling it?
I'm pulling back here and stapling up here.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I pull back here. See where my hand's at? And about that gap of staples is good.
Okay.
You know, I've done it where you touch them,
Yeah.
but like I said, when you're doing surface work, this is good. Okay. So I'm gonna come down through here, and for sake of the event, I'm not gonna do the whole rail. I'm gonna do 2 other rails, but let's just say that's it. You can see no shadows down the nose of the cushion. No shadows anywhere.
Yeah.
If you feel the nose, feel the nose. Okay?
So that's purely from not staple.
Yeah, here, the nose is thin. So the next thing, why did I leave these flaps? You see them? If you're gluing, you put glue back here, and I recommend Slocum. Glenn's glue is the best glue I've used. So Slocum, and I'm going to put a link at the tools when you scan, and I'm going to recommend his glue. Glenn can tell you where to get it. I get it from Billiard wholesalers. It's if you're doing diamonds, if you're gluing valleys, if you're doing any type of gluing with our Apex rails, we glue the back. That is the best glue I've found. It's a tube. It's like a contact, so you want to put glue on the cloth and on what you're gluing. Wait a few minutes, and it's not coming off.
Did you ever work with Cami 303?
The spray glue.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They just discontinued it with some of my installers.
I mean, I don't use spray glue, so I'm gonna try this.
Spray glue bonds, but it will not hold, especially with any type of.
Yeah, like when we're using, like in the South, if we're in Asia, so humid, that spray glue, you might as well forget it.
Yeah.
You know, so I used the Slocum glue in Vietnam, and it held. So that's what made me a believer of it, because I use 3M Fast Bond too, but it's very toxic. There's lots of different things, but that's what I recommend. So that little lap right there, let me show you this. So if I pull that down, okay, I'm gonna try to shoot a staple one from this angle. Now there's a staple held. You guys see it?
Yep.
So now this comes right back around there, and the staple holds it. Now if I flip this upside down, you see this bottom piece? I like to push it down and roll the top. And see that little fold I just made?
Yep.
So now when I trim, you see how clean that is? The casting comes up there and it's absolutely perfect. That's why I leave that little tab down on European folds.
Makes sense.
If you're gluing it,
More and more manufactured.
yeah, a lot more people are using it. Because what they're doing is they're letting their sub rails overhang and they're cutting it and they're getting a lot more accurate with their
So not
angles.
only is this applied on our tables, with any other manufacturers are using this design, so they're not behind the rails. For example, like you mentioned, Bassin, Brunswick's now using it, so we are.
So then this fold right here, okay?
This is the one that gets us right here.
Yeah, really? Really?
On the angled rails.
Okay. So right here,
Yeah.
so I pull that piece down and I'm just bending this piece over and I'm gonna shoot one right there. And then on the bottom, the same way. You can see how it's kind of tricky to see. Let me see if I can hold this up here. I don't normally do it like this, but maybe for demonstrations it'll show you better.
That's a different kind of pocket.
Make sure you're using a 1/4 inch leg. If you're using a 3/8 leg, it will literally protrude out through the front of the facing, and that's something that you would not want.
See, I'm pushing this in with my fingers
Yeah.
and I'm bringing this fold over so that when I shoot that staple right there, something. Now I'll trim this. And then it's nice and clean, and when your casting comes in there.
So you guys have a wood rail. That's wood right there.
Yes, this is wood.
That's all wood, okay.
Now on the apex, this overhangs and this has to be glued. Same way you just glue it and you wrap it around there.
This is the black diamond?
So this is Predator Arctic. You see how clean it is? So this is the European fold.
A right-handed person can operate on this corner a little better than a left-handed can operate on his. Practice pulling staples.
Yeah, stop by the Predator booth. So, two different ways to trim. I like to use scissors, but you can use a razor blade for it. But I get right in the back of that cloth relief. Okay? So, everybody understands what the cloth relief's for? 32nd right here. Below, you have to trim the cloth in that cloth relief. Because in a pool table, like for this table here, our nose hike is 1 29/64. If that's not trimmed, watch what happens. If I put a piece of cloth, it's a 32nd higher than playability.
It's a shim.
So what we see in Asia a lot is guys it'll be like this underneath the rail.
Yeah.
So if you can think about when you tighten that rail down, so make sure no cloth is up
It's
on
like
that.
walking around with duct tape with a lot of duct tape.
Bottom.
You're like, what?
You can zoom in on this.
You think aren't going to be wrong? Your track off.
You see it underneath there?
Certainly.
That gap? You guys see it?
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want to make sure it's trimmed. That's all tables. Now, if you're doing like an old housing, they don't have that.
Yeah.
So,
It's designed in there to keep the nose hike.
but if the rail has that cloth relief, make sure your cloth don't go past that. Got it? You know, look at it up close, take any pictures.
And that's incredible.
Literally, if someone wants to come over and put their hands on it, literally, I got it that far, they can push it.
You see that?
I was just kind of halfway down like here.
It's nice and tight too.
Big trial and error. Yep.
I'm gonna do an end rail for you while he's pounding in that other cloth. A couple different tricks with the end rail. Might help you guys. So, like I said, the first cut, upside down. See it? And you can see how it feathers down. So then when I put it in there, you see how close, what that looks like?
Man, we've been working so hard. You got no idea.
And then this one you always got a line, you know, that way you can see my line there. Is that how you guys do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just use razor blades though.
Same thing. Cut upside down. I'm gonna give it a little bit more. And a little bit more because it.
And you're cutting it to the end, huh?
Yeah. See how that's a little bit long? So put it in there, and that's my measurement. That's close, but if you get it too much, you know, you push out the facing like that.
Right, yeah.
Looks like crap.
Yep.
I'm gonna just give it a little bit more angle off there. See how easy this cuts?
Yeah, I'm buying this.
Home Depot. Home Depot, like $13. You're gonna be like, Bob, I can't believe it. Okay, so on the center rail, I start here in the middle, on that line that I made, because I already know it's perfect because I've already lined it up in here. Okay, so I get there. Okay, you notice I try not to leave a lot of cloth outside there. I try to keep it close.
Yeah.
Some cloth manufacturers only give you 6 inches, and sometimes they don't even give you 6 inches, so you got little to work with. So I just got in the habit of trying to keep it close.
Very good.
So then here, I'm pulling this way. It's pinned, okay? This is my guide, so I can cheat after the last second. Good. Same thing here.
And you leave it flat all the way across?
Yes. See how I'm pulling there?
Yep.
Because I'm trying to keep the grain straight on top.
Gotcha.
Right here at the last second. And then I trim that right behind the, right here behind the facing. I just go ahead and cut it like that.
That's normal, yeah.
Okay.
That's how we do it.
Okay, good. And I'm just going down through here in one pass, getting all. Best investment, razor blades. The good ones too, because the other ones are that way one cut, you can get all the cloth. You don't have to sit here for an hour and try to cut 12 times. And like I said, every table is different, but the concepts, the idea is the same. Okay. A little air tool can be your best friend. Especially if you're doing old rails that's been chewed out. I flip them over and I use a wire brush and get all that old wood knocked off, and then I hit it with that. So I'm dealing. You ever did a rail and have a? Okay. You ever did a rail and have a piece of chunk underneath there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's the worst.
It is the worst.
Man, we work hard around here.
Yeah. Okay. So he's got my block. We'll see if I can do it with a rubber mallet. But like I said, I highly recommend you guys getting. And I can show you this. I made this with the piece of.
What is that?
It's my pounding block, but I just took a piece of hard material, and then I put a piece of laminate on top of it.
Fiberboard.
Yeah, that's what we
fiberboard.
have, yeah, the fiber blocks.
Yeah.
That way it don't. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so when I'm doing an in rail, this is the way I do it. Same place I grip here.
Yeah.
And I look and see where the cloth's going to go, and my left hand grabs the cloth right there and holds it. Okay?
Yeah, get that really good. This is like the best part right
Here we go. Here, and I'm holding it right here. And I'm going to shoot one staple. Now, it's opposite of what you think. I get back here at the back and I pull up and I shoot a staple. And then it's the same thing I did before. I'm working out tension, staple, tension, tension, out of staples. Always happens right when you got it held perfect.
Always.
Okay, so we'll shoot a staple. And as you can see, now I've worked that bag out of there. There's no bag on top. So when I pull around there, it's nice. There's no bag. So if you do it that way and you work this way, you're actually pulling that bag and you're keeping it tight. Because normally you guys are probably getting it, and then when you get down, there's a little bag here.
It's loose, yeah.
And that's because if you had done it here and work it out, you'll eliminate that bag.
Gotcha.
So it takes a little practice, but you know you're gonna have it here. And I go down here and I do the same thing. I'm pulling tension. That's helping keeping them shadows away. Okay?
So you're pulling to the end of the rail.
Yes, I'm pulling this way. And then I'm holding the rail. Like there. Okay? And I'm getting here at the back. And I'm making sure that there's no bag back there. And then I can work this right on around. Okay, and then you see the cloth still kind of leaning that way. I actually, watch what happens when I pull it this way. See what it's doing? I shoot a few right there. And now, same thing we just did going down the rail. I'm pulling, stapling here. Pulling, stapling.
When you pull right here, you're pulling
Up.
to the end of the
Up. See? Up. Straight up. Like this. And you're noticing I got the rail hanging off the edge. Because if you do it like this, a lot of times you'll pinch the cloth and it'll be loose on top. So I let it hang off, and I'm actually pulling that cloth around there.
And so
I
because you're not putting it right where your thumb is, that's why you don't get the dimple.
Right. So there, look how perfect this is. Okay? Now watch. I'm going to do about 6 unperfect, just so you can see what ends up happening.
See it already.
Yep.
You see it?
Gotcha.
That's what you see a lot. And you're like, man, cloth's tight. What's wrong with
Because
this
you're
cloth?
stapling right where they're pulling at.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So by stapling off, you learn that. So that's one of the big things. And then you can imagine for playability, if you feel down there, the nose is doing this. So it's never going to come off the same. Every rail is going to be
Yeah, you
different.
can see the little dimples in it sometimes. Yeah.
Yep. So that's how you eliminate that. So held down, grinder, and I get it kind of low. And they're only a couple bucks on Amazon, so when they wear out, you can just throw them away and get a new one.
I love the wooden handle ones.
Yes.
You never get blisters.
Yes, these are really nice too. Same ones. So you got done with that rail, Rob? Yes, sir. Okay, so everybody understand this? Pretty simple, right? Yeah. And the reason I started in the middle is just so that I can get the cloth straight. And then here's the part, I'll do it one more time for you. Because you said this is where you... So I'm going to pull down and back. See how I'm rolling this as I'm pulling? And I'm not pulling so much, I'm turning that facing in. Because then it looks bad. I'm just right here.
Most rails I run into, that facing goes all the way back, like that. You got to cut in behind that base pad right there.
Yeah.
And most of them,
Most of them, they're just going straight. They keep going straight, and this is actually longer, right? So I would just staple right behind, right where that where the pocket goes.
The facings never have to go past the back of the dado for the feather strip.
Okay.
Anything past that is actually too far. So when you're putting on facings, you stop here at the back. Now there is an angle here. Ours is 13 degrees down angle. So it's not 90. It's actually like this. So if you ever want to understand it, mount you a casting here to the rail and then put the facing on it. Don't worry about the facing being straight. Just try to line the back of the facing up with that line and then staple it. And you'll notice that your facing will actually end up being like this. But then when you trim it, it's perfect. But if you put it on like this, you took away the down angle. See now look, if I put that on there now, I got a down angle. See how much I got, there's the down angle. So that's a way to tech it, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So a lot of times when people redo facing, they just put it on, they don't understand it. Oh, you have to stop right back here. That's a trajectory into the pocket. That's what controls the ball. If it was just 90, the ball would hit it in. So different down angles. We use 13, a lot of people use 12, Diamond uses 15. Everybody has a reason because they want to control the speed into the pocket. So ours is 13, which is pretty much a standard in the industry. The fold that you guys probably all do, the American fold. I'm going to show you a couple little tips with that, and hopefully it'll help you. You guys the right way, and then you can practice it, and there's no wrong or right. And like I said, I'll give you guys my number at the end. If you guys ever have a question, I have a lot of videos, you can just reach out to me. Let me know, hey, I was at your expo, I want to see a few things. Or I have a question about something, always.
You also have those videos
Yes.
that our creative department made.
Okay.
So we'll be posting those on YouTube soon.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because like I said, the mechanics are the first line of the tables. If you guys don't like working on the table, any manufacturer's in trouble. You know, if you guys say, hey, I don't ever want to work on a Predator, it took me 17 hours to do it. You ain't going to want to tell nobody that it's a good table. But if you learn the right way, hey, it's a little bit different, but it's not harder. It's just a little bit different.
And it looks great when you're done. You sleep better at the end of the day. You feel good.
Same thing here. My hands here. See how I'm pulling out and around? Because when I do that from doing it as long, I'm actually taking that slack out of the back when I start doing it. But it's hard to teach that. So the easiest way to teach is to just pull it up and hold it right here. Okay? And then you do what I just did. But if you when you do enough of them, you'll just grab here and you'll start here. See, now there's no bag. You know what I mean? And then once that cloth gets going straight, I start down here. See, and then there's no bag, and I just do it. But the other way is the best way to teach it that I showed the video of on that corner, in my opinion. So, now, this is the American fold, what you guys normally do. So to help keep I got this going straight, the cloth going straight. So I come down here and I go ahead and pull and go straight up. Okay? Shoot 3. Now there's tension. That helps keep them shadows out. Okay? So now I'm gonna go ahead and go down the rail. Inch behind the gun, staple. And if you weren't here before, I angle them a little bit so that I have a lag in this cloth and a lag in here. Because if I shoot them straight like this, it's okay. But when you trim it, make sure you trim it way back here. Because if you trim it close, it will pull out in a couple months. When the ball hits that rubber and it keeps working that cloth, next thing you know, you go to the room, loosens up. And you're like, man, I was perfect when I left here. What happened? That's what happens. So to avoid that, just angle them a little bit and you'll see you'll have a lot less error that happens. So, like I said, either way is okay, but this is the best way, and I think, in my opinion. So I lick my fingers, obviously helps me grip the cloth. See where I'm doing back here? Pull, staple that far ahead. See that? See how far I am? About an inch. Okay, so now we're going to do the fold. Now for demonstration purposes, I'm going to hold it like this. I usually do it on the thing. So, you guys pull here, right? And then this is the fold. So, one thing you can do is you can figure out where the fold's going to be. Right there, okay? Now a little trick, shoot 2 staples in the back of the facing. See that? Scissors. Okay, and then you can take this back piece of cloth and trim right to the back of the facing straight up. Now I've eliminated that bag. So when I fold that around, and I get a nice butter knife or something similar up underneath there, because I want that high fold. I already got it there. You see that high fold in there? How many times you see that fold go down through here? Okay, this is where this fold is right now, which is almost perfect. You'll see folds go like this, and it's just not professional. It doesn't look good.
I think sometimes you can get them up there pretty high, but then like the diamond tables, when you put those pockets in, it likes to pull it down.
It does.
Yeah.
Stapling like this can help because it holds it.
Yeah.
Or rarely up here at the top, you shoot that staple close so it can't pull it down.
Okay.
So this is a little trick I teach to hold it. Because you can see there it's not coming loose. And then, so if this was a butter knife, I usually use a butter knife or an envelope holder. And you see how I'm pulling that fold? And then because the idea is, okay, because we want to make sure, I usually do it on the table, so this ain't the proper way. You don't want to ever set a rail on the ground, obviously. I'm trying to show you guys. You want to staple it. See, now that's nice and tight, you can hear it, you know. See, that's the truth, you know, and the same thing here, if you wanted to check that angle, you see how it would be touching. I wouldn't have a big rounded missing piece. If you pull this too tight, the cloth's going to look like this. And that whole nose is now dead. Right now, it's not.
So, question on that nose. With the European fold or American fold, are you seeing less or more wear on one versus the other?
No difference.
Oh, really?
No. Not with No difference with Simonis cloth. That's what I tested.
Okay.
I'm not saying if you go get a 19-ounce cloth that's paper thin, but in reality, if this is sanded correctly, as you're recovering, if you make sure that there's no sharp edges, some people super glue that facing on, and then when you super glue it, it gets hard as a brick.
Yeah.
The best thing that I recommend is using the same Slocum glue, Roking Cobra's glue, because
I got a question. Is there a trick to cutting the rubbers? Like when I put a new rail rubber on, is there another trick to that?
There's tricks to everything.
Yes, there is.
What do you want to know?
For like to put the like when I'm putting a brand new rubber on and I got 6 inches on each side. What's the best method to cut that?
Well, are you doing mostly house tables or commercial?
I'm doing mostly house tables.
Okay, so I would normally get a really sharp blade, wet it with Windex, and cut it close. Okay. Now I have a jig made that I can set right on the side of it, like a piece of wood, and I cut right along there, and I cut it almost perfect. Now, obviously, I do things different. I do it with a miter saw and a chop box when I do it perfect, so I can get the down angle and everything. But if you're just doing house work, that cut can be done really clean with a nice little jig. Just make you a little block at that angle, and you hold it up there, and you got it, and it'll be perfect. And then get you a Makita belt sander. Not an orbital sander.
Is that getting it flat?
Yeah.
It gets them flat and smooth,
Yes.
right? Because that's my issue is getting them flat and smooth and cut super flush. So when I put that side pad on there, I don't have any bumps sticking out.
Right.
That's my issue.
You need
That's
a
the
sharp blade,
only
Windex,
problem I'm happy with.
and a little jig.
Okay.
But I recommend the
Kitchen knife, Windex, and wet it.
the compound miter saw with the sanding disc on it, and then building the chop block so you can do the down angle and the opening angle at the same time. That's what I like to do. But for house tables, there's other ways you could do it as well.
Get a fish fillet knife.
Fish fillet knife.
Yeah, there you go. Any sharp knife, put some Windex on it, it'll cut through it like butter. Now notice I did that little notch on the American fold. I had told Rob to leave that because this is the American fold. But I left that notch because now watch, instead of that big bag that you guys can get back there, now when you pull that through and shoot it, this is going to be really, really clean. It's going to look like this. It ain't going to be a big bag behind the casting.
You're talking about the notch when you put the feather strip?
Yep. I did the same thing with the same American fold. Yep. So I think that notch is a really cool thing to know.
Can you do that one more time?
Okay, so say I want to pull it down. Should I do it with the staple so everybody can see? Okay, so now that's held. Now when I turn this over and put a staple, see how clean this is? So when that casting comes up here, it's going to look like that.
Fish fillet knife, you can get a long back fish fillet.
Perfect. Not a big bag behind there that you're trying to...
That's the most annoying part. You're done with the install.
Right. Yeah, you're at the end and the guy's cussing. So, a couple little tricks. And then obviously, as you guys seen, for the staple where I showed you how to grind off that stapler. See how it's not above there. So now whenever you go to pull the staples, look how there's already a lip under there. So because if you don't, you're going to dig into the wood. See how that's above? Just a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
This one's grinded down flat.
So with the pneumatic guns, most of the time, I mean, you can pull the trigger and file it, or you can also take the top of it off and pull the hammer out and hand file it, so you don't get any burrs when you're hand
they're
filing.
going all the way out like that one.
You can see the pressure fluid.
Yes. So you can sand that off and then you'll never blow it down in.
You have to have air.
So now when we take this out, there's an indentation there where the cloth used to be, but it's that first one. It's not pounding way down in. For instance, watch what this does. Okay? And then watch what this one does. Big difference?
Yeah.
So if you're servicing tables and pool rooms and stuff, the less you can do that, the guy has to dig out. The longevity of the rail and the work is way better over time.
That's interesting. That's cool.
Just a little trick. And then, like I said, always make sure you trim in that 30-second cloth relief. It's there for a reason. And it helps make sure that the nose height remains the same. We measure when we build tables from the surface to the nose height. If you put anything in there, between there, you change it from a 32nd to 64th and you get inconsistencies. And then on our rails, 13 to 15 inch pounds, 17 to 20 Newton meters torque each rail. Then, If the guy says the table ain't playing good, you can say, okay, I know I put the cloth on right. I know I torqued each rail. What's the next problem? Because if you tell me my table's inconsistent, I'm gonna say, what's the torque on all the rails? Who put the cloth on? If all of it's constant, okay, now I can look from an engineer and say, okay, maybe it's a material problem. So that's one of the big things there. Is there any questions or anybody want to see anything that maybe I didn't cover? I know I only have an hour time, I apologize, but
What was the reason that on one rail you start in the middle? And
that's
then,
the head rail.
Yeah, and then on the other one you start on the ends.
Ends, yep.
Is there a reason for that?
And some people don't do it, but my thought is if I start here and I pull equally this way and equally this way, I got the same tension. If I start here and I pull, I'm going to pull more cloth through here than here. Because if you hold this and I pull, it's not as much pull here as it is right here. So start in the middle, it's 50-50.
I just put like 2 or 3 staples in the middle and then I go
Yeah,
from
there you
one.
go.
Yeah.
That's my thought process behind it. I just think it's
Were
better.
you talking about the staples or the finish?
No, this is.
Yeah, shot 2 here and then pulled it.
Yeah.
So that's more of a personal thing. I recommend it. As long as you can do it without a dip of being here. A lot of times when you put the first 2 in, you get a little wrinkle. So that's another thing.
And that's only on the end rails. They do
Yes, end rail. So I can show you guys ever get a dimple, a little trick, so that, because inevitably, say you get done with the rail and you got a dimple. Okay. See that dimple right there? You said, crap, I got one dimple. But if you pull it out, you're afraid of like it going. So if you pull out one lag of the staple, so here's the dimple. Okay. See, look what happened. You see it go away? So then go ahead and just staple and remove the lag, and the one divot and wrinkle is gone.
Nice.
So just a little tip, because it happens to everybody. You get, especially if you're doing a lot.
Never happened.
I say that too, but make sure you go back through it. My last step is, you can see right here is a little bit high. So my last step is the final step when I'm done. Is go back through with the pounding. Make sure that's all flat across there.
Very nice.
So get you a block, a hard block, a hammer, some rubber mallet. But that's pretty much it.